Hello, welcome back to Teacher Jeff 40K. What I'd like to talk about now is the role of different units. Now, there is a general role as the unit type. That's not really what I'm talking about. So the unit types, of course, you've got HQ for headquarters, you've got troops, fast attack, heavy support, and elite. And of course, a couple of others that fall into different newer categories like Flyer and Lord of War. But I'm not talking about those unit types. Usually those types do dictate what the unit will do, but not always necessarily. What I'm talking about is you deciding what unit is going to do what for your army. What is its role? And usually those fall into a few categories. And there are, of course, different ways of looking at it as well. I'm going to look at 3 different categories today. There are others, but these are the 3 that I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at the anti-tank or monstrous creature role, the anti-infantry role, and the objective capturing role. So I've brought out 3 of my units from my Space Marine army, but those are examples. So these can be applied to units in a codex that is not Space Marines. If you play something else like Tyranids or Orcs or anything else, this can be applied to your units as well. So here I have a Predator tank. This Predator is equipped with 4 las cannons. Las cannons are very good at dealing with heavy targets, vehicles, and lots of things with lots of wounds. So I have decided that this Predator tank, its role in my army is to deal with other tanks and to deal with monstrous creatures. That is how I have equipped it, and that is the job that it is going to do. Because very often, new players can get caught in this sort of overwhelming world of, I'm going to bring a lot of units in my army, and I'm just going to move them when I've got them on the table. It's important to know what your units are going to do before you put them on the table. What is its job? So this job, for the Predator tank, its job is to shoot other vehicles and high wound heavy targets, to just rip wounds off of them. I'm not going to use this to go into close combat. It's terrible at that. It's good at sitting way in the back and shooting las cannons at my opponent. So that is its job. That's what I've chosen for it. Next, actually, before I get to that, I would like to discuss the Predator tank can be equipped to deal with infantry as well. So that's why it's important to know before you equip your tank. There is another option, the Predator autocannon, and you can put 2 heavy bolters on here. And that makes it much more ideal for dealing with infantry. But I have chosen this role for this tank. So that's what it's going to do in my army. Another unit I have is 3 Space Marine bikes. It's 1 squad of 3, and 2 of them have special weapons. They have flamethrowers. So that is how I have equipped them. So I have chosen the role of anti-infantry for them. The flamethrower is a terrific anti-infantry weapon. And the bike is very fast. So I've decided that these guys will zoom up the board and shoot and cook infantry. That's my choice. So that's how I've decided to equip them. Again, you can equip bikes differently. You can give them melt-a-guns and have them take the anti-tank role if you want to, a fast anti-tank unit. But in my army, I've decided that I will have this guy for the anti-tank role, and then my 3 Space Marine bikes for the anti-infantry role. So I have a bit of balance. And of course, this is just an example So typically in any army, you would want multiples of each role. You can take multiples of the exact same thing if you like. You can have 3 Predator tanks that all have las cannons, that all take care of tanks. But you can also have those roles in different units. So I could take a Predator tank, and I could take a squad of Devastators who also have las cannons. It's up to you, whatever you want to choose. But these are just examples of a battlefield role. And then the last battlefield role, or at least the one I think is the last battlefield role, again, they can be under different definitions. I have a squad of tactical Space Marines. They don't have anything special on them. They all have their standard issue bolt guns. That's it. This job, or their job rather, is to capture objectives. That's their job. That's all I have them for. So they're not meant to be incredibly damaging, and because of that, they don't attract a lot of attention. 5 Marines just with bolters is not going to attract a lot of fire, so this allows them to get in and capture objectives quite well. I could improve this by putting them inside a transport. You can always choose to do that as well. Put them inside a transport and they can move faster. So that is their role. I've decided they are going to capture objectives. So the reason I brought these 3 units is they are very specific to their roles. So this is a tank hunter. It is not good at shooting infantry. It still can, but it's not very good at it. And it's not good at capturing objectives either. The Space Marine squad of 5 Bolter Marines is good at capturing objectives. It's okay at dealing with infantry, but really not great, and it's definitely not good at dealing with tanks. And these bikers are not good at dealing with vehicles, very good at dealing with infantry, and they can capture some objectives well simply because they're fast. But it's not their role. That's not their job. The capturing objectives is the role of the Tactical Space Marines. They are troops, so they capture objectives better than other units. This, as I've said so many times, is for ripping tanks apart and monstrous creatures. And these guys are there to deal with infantry. So in that, I have a balance across this line of anti-tank, anti-infantry, and objective capturing. Now, again, this is not a complete army. These are just examples. And this is not simply for Space Marines. This is for any army. So you would want multiples of these roles. You want sort of a balance there. And if you can find something that does both roles, that is all the better. If you can find something that captures objectives and also takes care of infantry, that'd be amazing. So yeah, just think of that when you're building your army. What is the role of the unit I am bringing? Why am I bringing this? There are, of course, other roles once you get past those, but these are the 3 main roles that I think are very important. You've got a couple more advanced ones if you do want to get into that, but for now I would stick to these, and then later you can sort of expand. There is a role I like to use a lot, and it is a distraction unit. That unit is usually cheap, and it's annoying. That's kind of what it's there for. It's there to distract the opponent. So either it's fast, or it does a lot of damage, but typically distraction units are not meant to survive. So don't worry if they get knocked out of the game. But I'll talk about distraction units in another video. For now, primary roles I think are anti-tank, anti-infantry, and objective capturing. I think those should be focused on, and then you can find other roles once you sort of have those covered, and you can make a relatively complete army.